All right. Thank you, Ryan. In Existence Athletics. Never been here. It's great to be here. It's a great setup. Thanks for Fit Mornings. And thank you for attending on this somewhat snowy day, even though it is now sunny. And I thought I wasn't going to make it because I called Ryan. I just got out of the car because I was stuck in the snow for 15 minutes. So last name Gillette, no relation to the razor. I do use their razor, but avoid their lotions and stuff is toxic. So when I teach clients, I not only teach them how to eat healthy, but what you put on your skin is very important. It's your largest organ. So I have a couple mottos in life with my nutrition. If you go to my website, I always have achieve awesome and amazing health. That's what I inspire my clients to do, coach them. Same with personal training, you're coaching. We're all coaches. Everyone needs a coach. I've had nutrition people help me and so forth. So I just inspire and motivate people to change their dietary habits. And changing your dietary habits is not the easiest thing to do, I've found. But all my clients get better when they come to me and I show them what to do. And everyone's slightly different. So the other motto is nutrition is the foundation upon which everything is built. So I like to use analogies or maybe parables that if you're building a house, your structure, the framework, the foundation is nutrition. Everything you put inside of it is more like your emotional health, spiritual health, exercise. So your decorations. But if your foundation is not strong, everything's going to crumble. And then the other one is I firmly believe nutrition is the best prevention and cure for illness and disease. So I've helped athletes, bodybuilders, and endurance. I also helped a lot of chronically ill people. And I'm very controversial if you've seen in my posts. And probably y'all are probably the same. I mean, exercise is very important, nutrition is important, and we're seeing an epidemic of people not healthy. Denver's better than most cities, but there's still plenty of people out there that are not too healthy, and they're not getting the information. And so all of us here, a thumbs up, because we're helping people live healthier lives without chronic illness and disease, and it's always best to prevent it. So, with that told, I'm going to talk about sports nutrition. I'm sure there's a lot of controversy out there on what to eat, how to eat it, supplements, how to heal from injuries, and just what to eat dietary-wise. And I'll give an example. The biggest thing I have found, and I'll give a story of a bodybuilder woman I helped a couple years ago, is the lack of eating healthy fat. That is the number one issue. And then the opposite of that is eating too many carbohydrates. I have a little blog the other day I made. It's like, what the top 5 reasons people are unhealthy. And number 1, I said this consumption of carbohydrates. Too many. Way too many. Even a lot of athletes eat way too many. So with this bodybuilder lady, I won't name names, very good looking, looked great, but she told me, Greg, my energy's just not there. I'm tired, I don't sleep well. So I looked at her diet, plenty of protein, and that's fine, and a fair amount of carbs, but the fat intake was only like 10%. And still people are pushing that, even in fitness magazines. I pick up like the Max Muscle magazines and some other ones, and they're always talking about, and it's the carb load. And I mean, carbs are important, but not that many. So I told her, if you're a bodybuilder, anyone here competed? I haven't either. But she was, so she had a specific, it's like scientific. I don't even know how they do it, but they're really counting all their calories. So she had a specific calorie load each day she wanted when she was training and then not training. So I said, hey, we can switch this around. I just want you to flop your carbohydrates for your fat. So you're switching it. So you're going to go to about 10% carb, 15, and then you're going to go 40 to 50% of your diet from fat. And she was like, are you crazy? Am I going to gain weight? Am I going to eat too many calories? I was like, you're not going to gain weight. If it's healthy fat and protein, it balances your blood sugar, keeps your insulin levels down. It resets your leptin receptors. Y'all familiar with leptin? And she said, okay, I'll trust you. And I told her the biggest factor, though, is you don't have to eat that much fat to get fat in the body, because 1 gram of fat is 9 calories. Y'all probably know that. 1 gram of protein is only 4, 1 gram of carbs is only 4. So she said, oh, okay, I can do that. So you could eat 100 grams of protein and 45 grams of fat, and you get more calories from the fat. So she started doing that, and then within a month, her energy got better. She actually got stronger. She didn't gain weight because she kept her calorie load. But she had worked with another nutritionist, her and a bunch of her friends, and luckily this didn't happen to her, but she said 2 of her friends lost their menstrual cycle. based on not eating enough healthy fat. And fat is needed to build all your hormones in your body, and also all your vitamin D, and there's a whole talk about cholesterol. There's a lot of misinformation about that. So just wanted to bring that out, that I find my clients, every client I get them eating more fat than anything. Now the percentage will vary. It might be 40% fat, up to some people are eating 80% of their calories from fat. Usually with heart issues, if you have heart disease or neurological, probably y'all don't have that, but I've seen chronic illness, and then that really helps. And again, you don't eat that much volume of it. So as far as nutrition for athletes, there's one, the fuel. What do you need for fuel for your body? That's the one thing that I'll talk about that first. Secondly, how do you rebuild your body, recover after you're doing exercise? What type of exercise are you all doing? Cardio, weightlifting, CrossFit? All the above. Okay. More CrossFit style or more? Anyone here doing like high intensity cardio, or is it more low to medium CrossFit, like quick spurts?
It is a little bit of everything.
Okay.
Okay. Some days more cardio based, some days more short bursts and high
Got
intensity.
it.
Some days
Okay.
more focused on heavier weight.
Okay. Cool. So there's a fuel, there's a recovery, rebuilding, and then there's what I call lubricating, cushioning, protecting, hydrating the body. And there's certain foods to do that. And then foods just to build your strength. So we'll start with the fuel. I mean, there's just two types of fuel. There's unleaded and there's there's carbohydrate fuel, and then there's fuel for fat. I feel that everyone should try eventually to get a real low carb diet to see if you can do it and actually go into ketosis. Has anyone ever done that? And what was your results?
Good until I get about 3 minutes into a high intensity workout.
Got it. Same, yeah.
Pretty similar, yeah.
Yourself?
Mine was fine. I felt a little, for me, it was taking out too much of the vegetables.
Yeah.
So I started to feel a little acidic.
Okay.
So I did it for,
Yeah.
because I'm a nutritionist.
Yeah,
I'm a person
exactly.
experimentation. But I changed it a little bit.
Got it. Okay. I think it's good for everyone to just go into that and see. Some people do really good on it. I've been into it before. Right now, I'm not sure. I haven't tested my ketones. Did you test ketones?
I did not.
Okay. That's the best. To really see if you are, you just get the ketone strips, you pee on them. But I've been in there before. Right now, I'm not sure. Right now, I eat about 50 grams of carbs a day. That's it. And I feel good. But it was a transition. You transition into a little bit of fatigue at first, even some mental stuff, because your body is still used to burning glucose as fuel. So I always tell everyone to experiment with that a little bit. And if you're going into a race, maybe don't do it yet, because it might mess you up. But I do feel like eventually a lot of people do well on that. If you don't do well on that, that's fine. But I still think it's best to limit the amount of carbs. Because again, I call it the skinny fat syndrome, where people, and more women I think get into it, where they want to lose weight, so they're doing a lot of cardio, and they're eating a lot of protein and carbohydrates. But they burn through the carbs pretty quick, and then they hit a wall, and then their body might start burning protein. And then you get the mushy feeling. So, you know what I'm saying? Like someone looks okay, but then you touch them, it's like kind of like Jell-O. So you have to be a little careful. Now, as far as y'all's daily diet, do you know your percentages, like a fat carb protein ratio? What do you? I mean, I'm sure it's not specifically, but what's the?
I mean, I'll go on and off. I'll track for like 2 weeks, and then I won't track for like a month or two.
Oh, okay.
And then I've been playing around with different ones.
Yeah.
But most recently, I've been doing about 35% protein.
Okay.
About 30-ish% carbs, and then the rest fat.
Okay. So you're almost about 30, or 33. Yeah, and it varies, yeah. Anyone else know their ratios to a certain degree?
So I do like 25 to 30 carbs, 50 to 60 fat.
Oh, okay.
And then 20% protein.
There you go. Anyone else?
I come from more of like a meathead football player background. So mine's about 60% protein and 20-20.
Okay, cool. Yeah, my diet right now is about 65% fat. Then probably 25 protein, the rest carb. For you, I would advocate, I would always get more fat than protein, because fat helps absorb protein. Protein actually shuffles fat around the body, so they work synergistically. And in nature, you hear about lean proteins, but that's usually when you're cutting the fat off. Nothing really is lean protein. So I don't advocate eating lean. Well, if you're eating lean meats, that's fine, but make sure you're eating something else with it. Cooking coconut oil, olive oil, eat some avocados with it. If you're doing protein powders, the only time I recommend protein powders is if you're just not eating enough protein during the day, or you just don't take the time. And again, if you get a protein powder, I wouldn't just chug it straight. I would put some fat in it, or eat a little avocado with it. Avocados and smoothies are real good. But again, I think it's best, because protein, if you're eating a lot and your body has all the protein it needs, it's not going to use the rest. It just burn it as glucose. So for your case, I would tinker with maybe getting more fat in the diet. And like I said, all the people I've helped always find more fat than protein is best. All of y'all are probably on the same page, agree with me, but out in that world, it's just still the high carb, low fat stuff, and it's just causing an epidemic of inflammation all over the place. So it's crazy. So as far as carb fuel, I find fruit is good, and I find vegetable juice very powerful. I juice a couple of days a week. Anyone here juicing? Okay, maybe I'll get you on the juice wagon.
What kind of juice?
Exactly. No, I find juicing's good. There's no fiber in it. It just floods the cells with vitamins and nutrients, enzymes, good bacteria, and oxygen. There's no fiber in it. I know for a fact that fiber, you don't need fiber. I'm not saying don't eat it ever, but the key to healthy digestion is your bacteria count, not the amount of fiber. Because I've studied indigenous people, and like if we were 500 years ago, we were living in Colorado, we'd be eating elk and nothing but that in the winter, and organ meats and no fiber, we'd be fine. So some fiber is good. I'm just throwing out tidbits where fiber is not the key to healthy digestion. It's the healthy bacteria count. So yeah, vegetable juice, I advocate a lower glycemic. If you're an athlete, you can probably go a little higher, but I usually use celery as a base, or cucumber. And celery is good. It's got a good potassium-sodium balance, and that's also in every cell. It's called the sodium-potassium pump, and that's controlled by a hormone called aldosterone. I always pronounce that wrong, which is also linked up to cortisol. Cortisol controls that hormone. So that's a good one. So usually I do a big thing of celery, or maybe two. And so my juice is probably 70% celery, and then I'll add a few carrots and beets and ginger and turmeric, which are good. And you can throw some parsley. But it's really good. So how many here do paleo style diets? Okay. Yeah, I think it's a good diet. How many here, anyone vegan, vegetarian? Okay, won't have any controversy. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but I mean, I've coached vegan people. Some are very rabid. Like, no, I'm not deficient in vitamin D and A and K and E and zinc and 6 and 12. I was like, well, I think you are. So at least just supplement it. Because I feel like those are really just found in animal fats, in animal proteins. So, but I always work with people, they want to stay vegan or vegetarian. So as far as the paleo, I know Croc, whatever we want to call the caveman's name, way back in the day, and his wife, they didn't have juicers. However, they didn't have any pollution either. So we're bombarded with pollution and toxins. And with athletes, we're outside running, the air's not the cleanest in Denver. So I have found that juicing, though not back in caveman day, we're living in different times. And I find that juicing is very good for athletes. And play with it. Don't do too much at first. It can detox you, and you might have some trips to the bathroom. So just be careful with that juice. And any type of juicer is fine. I mean, if you really get into it, you want to get a higher grade juicer. It costs a couple $100. But play around with it. You could throw an apple, but eventually try to get a little more lower glycemic. But the bang for your dollar for celery is great. There's a lot of water comes out of that, and cucumbers. And then berries are good, mainly strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, and the banana possibly. So starches, there's a place. How many eat starches? Probably not much. Every day or just when you feel it?
I thought you were talking like resistant starch and stuff. It's different.
Oh, no, just like a sweet potato or rice. Do y'all eat that regularly or just when you feel?
3 times a week or so.
3 times a week?
Usually heavier workout days.
Okay,
So if it's a more intense exercise than post-workout, you
Got
can
it.
have rice or starchy carb.
but you eat it with other foods.
Yes.
Okay, good. You always say if you can eat a starch, eat with protein, or if you don't want protein, put a lot of fat on it, just to stabilize your blood sugar and insulin. Yeah, I go intuitively. As you eat really healthy, I just eat a starch every so often. I haven't had a starch in like a month. As far as fruit, I eat seasonally. I usually go a couple months in the winter with no fruit. Except avocados, coconuts, they're fruits, but they're bland and they're fatty. So I just go intuitively. So I hope as you eat healthier, you'll just go intuition. Berries, I'll eat a lot more in the summertime. So as far as the fuel, just play around with the ketosis if you ever want to. But if you're never done it, just see how many carbs you're eating now and just slowly. Say you're eating 200 grams of carbs a day. Don't go into trying to do ketosis overnight. All of a sudden you're going to 30 carbs. You'll be like, ugh, fatigue and anger. So just slowly work it down. And I've helped some clients with intermittent fasting. I'm sure y'all are familiar with that. I've actually done it on accident a couple of days just because I've eaten such a big lunch sometimes, and damn, it's 10 hours, I'm not hungry. So I try to teach that with people too. I don't believe in athletes eating 6 small meals a day. If you're doing that and keep doing it if you feel like it's working. But the big key, and I find even with athletes, is rhythm. I like to dance, it's a good thing. But as far as rhythm with your digestive system, so many people eat all day long, they're grazing, we're not cows, and it'll mess up your leptin receptors. You never know what really hunger means, or satiety. Do y'all follow what I'm saying? So I think it's good to eat good meal. If you have time, eat a real good breakfast. If you're working out, of course you're working out, you want to plan it so after you work out, you eat within an hour at least. But really try to eat 3 big meals, healthy meals, and really go until you start feeling a little hunger pain. It's going to be a lot better for your digestive tract and your whole hormonal system because you're not constantly eating food. But a lot of athletes like that 6 meals a day thing, and it's always in the fitness magazines. I disagree with it. But again, I don't know everything. I just feel like it's better to get into a rhythm because I like feeling slightly hungry. I think that's when you're not starving. You're like, oh my God, I got to get something to eat. But so many people just don't. We've lost that society because there's foods available everywhere. So just try to do a little of that, if you're not doing that now. As far as the fuel for fat, though this is also non-paleo, but I find that raw butter from cows is one of the best healing fats out there. I'm talking raw, not pasteurized. I ship mine in from an Amish farmer. So I feel if you're paleo, I know you don't do dairy, but I still think raw butter is the #1 fat out there. It's got immunoglobulins in it, it's got lactoferrin, it's got vitamin A and D. If it's cows that are eating grass, and it's from the spring or summer. If you, like me, I eat raw butter year round. In the wintertime, not as nutritious because the cows are eating hay. Still grass, but the chlorophyll's not in there and stuff. But I find the raw butter to be very soothing and provides a lot of energy for the brain and also hormone issues. The avocados are very good. And then eggs are good. And raw eggs are one of the most powerful foods you can consume. I eat about 10 a day, sometimes 12, and I did 22 one day a couple months ago. So I'm my own guinea pig. But I found those to be super powerful. It's like, Rocky was right back in the days in the movie. But you're talking about a pack full of food. It's 60% fat, 40 protein. Some athletes still say the white's the best part. And maybe you do, but that is completely wrong. I'm not trying to be adamant here, but all the nutrition's in the yolk. I think the white beats the yolk in one category, and I can't remember. We went online one time, and nutrition in the yolk versus the white. Of course, the white's all protein, but the fat has a little protein. The yolk, it has all the fat. It's got lecithin, choline. I think choline's in the white, actually. But it's best to eat the whole thing. And like I said, raw, the thing with nothing wrong with cooked eggs. If you eat a big omelet, that's fine, with peppers and stuff. Of course, you don't want to go work out after you do that. Wait a couple hours. Sunny side up, or better, the fat's not oxidized, cooking coconut oil. If you ate some sunny side up eggs, you could probably exercise in an hour or so. Raw eggs, you can exercise about 30, 40 minutes after consuming them because they digest real quick, don't stay in your stomach that long, and move on.
So is the big reason for that is just the oxidation?
Yeah. Still, if you ate 6 cooked eggs every day and you're working out, you're still fine. There's no problem. You're just not going to get the value of the raw egg. And the reason I look at the raw egg as one of the top athletic foods because they're quick, boom, boom. You're throwing them in smoothies. You just shotgun. I just shotgun them now. I didn't wake up. I woke up about, what time did I wake up today? 7:45, and I didn't have much to prepare for. I just shotgunned 8 raw eggs before I came here. And a little bit of fermented cod liver oil and a couple of tablespoons of coconut oil. And then I have raw milk over there. So that's what I do, but I find them to be just really powerful. All my clients, be it athletes or not, I get them eating raw eggs. They're very powerful. They can detox you too. So if you're gonna try it, just do 1 and then gradually go up.
Eating them raw, do you find any less satiation from it, or like an extended feeling of fullness, as opposed to cooking them? Or is it still similar? Caloric intake will be the same.
I think it's pretty similar.
Okay.
But I don't know. I'd have to start eating more cooked eggs. It really.
True, yeah.
In the wintertime, I might cook eggs once a week. But yeah, I average about 10 a day. And that depends on how much meat I eat. If I eat 2 meat meals, I might only eat 6 raw eggs. If I only eat 1 meat meal, I'm probably doing a dozen to 14. But again, they're powerful foods. They'll help dissolve some toxins in the body. My favorite smoothie, I can't say I invented it, but it was, I had eggs, I had an avocado, and I had some berries here, and I had some coconut oil. I was like, let's just put them all together. So I have a Vitamix, so I usually like to get a big avocado for that. Crack 3 raw eggs, tablespoon of coconut oil, and 1 cup, I just a measuring cup of berries and blend it up in the blender. Oh, it's a powerful drink. That'd be a good post or pre-workout drink. You'll digest that pretty quick. And I forget the percentages, but I bet you that smoothie's probably 65% fat. Avocado's pretty much all fat. Coconut oil's all fat. But the egg, you put 3 eggs in there, that's 18 grams of protein, and there is probably 4 grams of protein in the avocado. So it's a powerful drink. But if you wanted to try that, just put 1 raw egg in there. And the coconut oil, as we know, fluctuates, it's hard, it's liquid. Unless you keep your heat on really high in your wherever you live, putting the coconut oil in there is probably gonna just gel up. So usually in the winter, if I do that smoothie, I'll just warm the coconut oil in the pan. Once my smoothie's done, then I'll pour it in there. So that's how I do it. But I find that those fat, the butter, the eggs, avocados, and then coconut oil are really good for fuel. And coconut oil, as we know, is medium chain fatty acids, so it really converts the energy real quick. So the energy, that's the energy thing. Just experiment with ketosis. If you can't do it, it takes a transition. Some people just can't do it. Don't worry about it. But at least try to limit your carbs to a certain degree. And it'll vary. You gotta almost play with yourself. That didn't sound right. You almost have to play around with your percentages to see what happens. Do any questions on fuel stuff? Okay. So then the next thing is just rebuild your body. And that's just from protein. The amino acids, I think they're 22, 8 are essential. So as long as you get the 8 essential, maybe it's 9, the body will make the others. And again, we talked about protein powder. Do y'all do protein powders? Which type?
100%
Whey. Okay. From 100% grass-fed?
No.
That's,
So,
yeah.
Go ahead.
So I had done that before, and tell me if I'm wrong. So part of the 100% grass-fed, obviously you're going to get your good fatty acids. You're going to get your nice ratios of omega-3s higher, but in the fat. So if it's 100% protein, there's no fat in there.
No, exactly.
So is it that crucial? Now I would much rather, if I had the finances, I would be doing that for the environment.
Yeah.
I believe in grass-fed cattle. But for my wallet, 100% protein powder, is it that awful?
Yeah.
From a grass-fed source?
Probably not that different. As long as it's hormone-free and organic, hopefully yeah. I mean, I've read articles where cows can eat a little grain. Even the wild, they're chewing on different things in the pasture that are more seed-based. So, but it's just the feedlot stuff. Sure. But are you doing that straight, or are you adding some fat to it?
I'll usually do it with a little bit of fat. So like either an avocado,
Okay.
MCT oil,
Okay.
coconut oil.
Cool.
Half and half.
Nail the raw egg.
Now raw egg.
No, back to the egg, be careful. Well, 5% of the people have trouble with the raw white. They get a little bloating in the stomach. So that's why you start with one. If you feel a little bloating, okay, then you cook the white and just use the yolk. And eventually you could add a little white back. Very few people have that problem, but for some reason, they do. So back to the protein sources, what do you think the biggest key, because some athletes are taking too many supplements, eating too much, and their digestion is not that great. So what do you think the number one key thing with digestive health? It's close. Huh?
The gut bacteria, the makeup of it.
Anyone else?
The number one key to digestive health?
It's like a domino effect. If this thing is not good, and everything else below it's going to be off kilter.
Stomach acid.
You got it. Stomach acid. I did a talk last week. That's the huge epidemic, low stomach acid, which means your stomach acid is not acidic enough. When you eat food, it needs to be like a 0.8 to 1.0. That is very acidic. If you put it on your skin, it'd burn your skin. And just from eating unhealthy, stress can do it. Too much coffee, too much alcohol, too much processed foods, it just destroys but it dampens the stomach acid. And I've found athletes that have a lot of gas, they're just eating too many protein powders. I knew one athlete that he drank like 3 or 4 protein powders all during the day. He's so busy. I'm like, you're gonna wreck yourself. You're eating high protein, not enough fat, and then again, the fat helps absorb protein, so he had gas and digestive problems, and his stomach acid was probably off. So really look at stomach acid. I mean, if you don't have gas and bloating and cramping, your stomach acid is probably okay. But that's a key factor, even for athletes. You gotta have the chi down here for everything else to work. Because if the chime ball, I call it, comes out of the stomach not acidic enough, the hormones won't register strong enough for the pancreas to secrete bicarbonate, to neutralize the acid, and to secrete hormones, and then or to secrete enzymes, and then the bile from the gallbladder won't be secreted properly. So it's interesting, the more I've studied stomach acid, that if it's not strong enough, everything else, you'll be malnourished. And people that have way low stomach acid could have anxiety, depression, skin conditions, autoimmune problems. So anyhow, that's just a tidbit of information to make sure your stomach acid is strong. So protein, again, it does help rebuild, repair stuff in the body. It builds new things everywhere. So I'm sure, paleo-wise, what kind of protein sources are you eating? Chicken, fish, meat, eggs. Anyone here doing dairy at all?
I do, yeah, like the whole milk, grass-fed yogurt.
Okay.
Organic.
Where are you?
The Greek usually.
Okay.
Yeah, I do a lot of heavy cream,
Okay.
not much protein, but like
Yeah.
Greek yogurt and stuff like that.
Okay.
Butter.
Okay. And you're trying to get the full fat yogurt and the
Yeah, oh yeah.
full fat, well, butter's full fat.
Yeah, it's more of like primal than a paleo.
Yeah. Yeah, my big thing on dairy is I think raw, if you can get raw milk, that's the best. In my opinion, well, it just digests a lot easier, all the enzymes are there and bacteria. The second best is pasteurized grass-fed milk, but not homogenized. Do not buy homogenized anything. I don't know why they do that. They put the fat globules, they suspend them so it's suspended in the solution of milk so it doesn't float to the top. It's like this whole, I don't know, aesthetic looking nice milk, and that's not the way it's supposed to be. That's very hard to break down. But yeah, protein sources, yeah, after you exercise, I would say try to get some protein and fat, a little bit of carb within 30 minutes or so. It depends, you could go a little longer. I wouldn't go more than an hour after exercising to get some fuel in.
Kind of a question, this a little bit more conventional wisdom perhaps, that so post-workout, right, you've depleted your glycogen stores, and if you're an athlete and you want to boost those up, everything that I've kind of read is, so you can eat fat pretty much throughout the day. Anytime's a good time to have fat. However, post-workout will potentially slow down the absorption of those carbohydrates and protein. True, not true?
It'll slow down a little bit of the carb, yes. Protein, no.
Okay.
And if you can do ketosis good, then your body has transitioned enough you don't need the carbs hardly. But yeah, so if you're not into that, Yeah, I just don't eat a huge amount of carbs.
Just enough to kind of.
Just enough to kind of replenish, yeah. But yeah, if it's a large amount of carbs and a large amount of fat, yeah, they can counteract and not absorb properly. But that's what I would do. So protein, this is another controversial thing. So raw eggs, but I've also found that actually eating raw meat is the single most powerful food out there. I don't cook my meat hardly ever anymore. Again, this is hugely controversial. Hugely, is there bacteria scares, there parasite scares? And you have to transition slowly into that. But I have a recipe book with raw meat appetizers, or you can make them into meals. And all the enzymes are in there, the bacteria. 'Cause other than cholesterol, which our body produces, all your cells produce them, your liver produces, we're just a big cholesterol machine. We're also a big bacteria machine. There's more bacteria in us than cells. I think it's 10 to 1. Most of your bacteria resides where? Which part?
Large intestine.
Large intestine, yeah. Small intestine a little bit. Some people, if they don't have strong stomach acid, you can have small intestine bacteria overgrowth, where there's too much bacteria in the small intestine. And that can cause fermentation, a lot of gas and bloating. But I have found that raw meat, grass-fed, you can ferment it you can squeeze lime, lemon juice, chop up herbs, and it actually tastes good. This recipe book I have. And that's the single most powerful food I haven't discovered. Other nutritionists taught me to help me rebuild, and that's the quickest way to rebuild new cells. Or I find grass-fed beef the most powerful just for muscle growth, energy growth. I found that one.
And is this the same reasoning with the eggs in terms of fat oxidation, or is there other reasons?
A little fat oxidation, and also just the enzyme count in there. And the amino acids are all intact. I know we've been eating cooked meat for thousands of years, but another one is also the whole pollutions thing. The more bacteria we get in our body, the help with the counteract toxins in the environment. But go slow with that one. That is a huge it's just, I firmly believe bacteria doesn't cause disease. It's just man-made processed foods. But so many people are out of balance with bacteria. If you incorporate all these good bacteria, you might have a little, run through the bathroom and just a little bit of detox. So I've just play around with that one. So I found those to be really healing foods.
So you said that you do these all raw, and I'm assuming your eggs are probably pasture raised.
Yeah.
So what about if you can't afford those and you're eating like conventional meats and like normal eggs that are necessarily not organic or grass fed? Like, would you still eat those raw, or is it more at risk for?
I'm not sure. If it's like 99-cent carton eggs, I probably wouldn't eat them raw.
Okay.
But if you could find them at least hormone-free, maybe they're not pastured raised, the chances of you getting sick is as long as you start small,
Right.
you're more likely to get hurt, driving a car or something.
But you'd only do that with beef, like you wouldn't eat chicken or pork raw.
I do chicken raw. Pork, I don't like the taste. Yeah, chicken, good segue into that. I'll ceviche that. I'll cut it up. I'll take a chicken breast, cut them in scissors. I'll marinate in lime juice, lemon juice to chop parsley on it, tomatoes, whatever you want. And I leave it out overnight when I usually prep my meat, and I don't want it cold. And if it's really cold, I don't like cold things. Even though I'm eating a lot of raw, I warm it up in the oven, like 100 degrees. But chicken I've found the best to help with the ligaments and tendons because of the collagen in the chicken. So those are two things also to consider when you're damaged, injured. So as far as protein, I found grass-fed beef to chicken, and then the eggs to be the best sources. And then the protein powders, the whey is real good. And people that are vegan, you're not, but the like sprouted brown rice or hemp protein probably the best for people that were vegan. So then we'll go quick to lubricating the body, hydrating the body, cushioning the joints and everything. And that comes from the fat again. The analogy is you drive a car, the engine's a protein, and if you don't have good oil in the engine, what's gonna happen? Same with the body. So only fat cushions and lubricates your body. Carbs are fine, but they don't do any cushioning, lubricating. They give you the good vitamins and minerals. But so if you're creaky joints, and just inflamed more, you need to increase the fat. And like I said, a good, I call it the moisture, or a friend of mine taught me, moisturizer conditioning form would be a couple of raw eggs, a little bit of raw butter. If you can't find raw butter, coconut oil or pastured butter, squeeze some lime or lemon and maybe a little raw honey and mix that all up and chug, chug, chug. That's really just soothes all your joints and ligaments, good for your digestion. So that's really important, and that's where a lot of athletes, they're achy. I mean, you need the protein to recover, but you really need the fat to lubricate and hydrate. And also, this is another controversial thing, is the more healthy fat you eat, more on the raw side, you can cook some, the less water you'll need to drink. I don't drink that much water during the day because I'm eating so much fat, healthy fat. And I do have, that's how much milk I drink a day, just 8 ounces. And I do some juicing. But the days I don't juice, I still don't drink a ton of water. Now, I'm not saying don't drink water, but just, if you're peeing, you know, every 30 minutes, you're drinking too much. And I don't buy the analogy, well, you need to drink before you're thirsty. That makes common sense. That's like saying eat before you're hungry. So just use your tuition and drink water when you need. Maybe liven it up with some lime juice, lemon juice. Raw apple cider vinegar is good. What kind of water are y'all drinking? Okay, not the best. There's fluoride in there and there's chlorine. I would really get some sort of filter. You can get a Brita filter, at least take the chlorine out. Fluoride, I think, is a neurotoxin. I'm actually with a group of people trying to get the fluoride removed from the Denver Water Board. It's an uphill battle. But it's really a byproduct of industry. No need to be in the water. But I would try by filter, or take a big 5-gallon jug, go to Sprouts, Whole Foods, Vitamin Cottage, you can fill that up. I think that would be better. Because water is good as more moving and nutrients and waste out of the body. I don't find it to be the best hydrator because it's not alive. Like I said, raw milk or juicing, there's vitamins and minerals, your body's gonna absorb it better, and then the raw fat. And I read this interesting article a couple years ago from a doctor I know. He's a MD, but he knew he was limited. He's like, yeah, I didn't learn that. Well, I learned about medicine, that's about it. So I need to go out and learn nutrition. And he discovered that the body's preference to make water is from fat, and mainly saturated fat. And back to the fat thing again, I always try to get more saturated fat than anything else. It's opposite of what you're told, but it's very stable fat, and all your cells need saturated fat. It helps the permeability of the cells and cells communication. Polyunsaturated fats are okay in small amounts. Too much causes inflammation. And most polyunsaturated fats come from seeds, and seeds inherently have phytic acid in them because they knew in the evolution of nature they need to germinate later. So they have protective forces around them. So there's a lot of grains and even some vegetables. So you have to be careful with the polyunsaturated fats. There's one fermented cod liver oil that's the best on the market. I found that really good. If I can give you information later. It's a lot of vitamin A, D, K, DHA, EPA. And this guy makes it the old school way where the fishermen years ago would cut the cods out of the liver and just throw them in a barrel, and they would just ferment over the season. And then they had cod liver oil. So again, lubrication, it's like another analogy is a bicycle chain. You don't put water on it, you put oil on it. So again, just play with that. I mean, I'm speaking from example that water is important, but getting water from food sources or raw fat is going to be better and more healing than just straight water. So,
You want to transition to some questions?
Yeah. But
You done went out by 10 o'clock?
Yeah, that's fine. But real quick, the healing the injuries, when I tore my ACL partially in January 2013, then I broke my collarbone in April the same year. I was eating about a pound of raw meat a day, 12 raw eggs, raw butter, coconut oil, juicing, raw milk, and that smoothie I talked about. Very low carb, no grains, some fruit. I use pineapple a lot in that smoothie because of the bromelain. So I found that combination is the best for healing. You're just giving all the raw materials to the body. And of course, I went to saw a physical therapist, and I have a friend, Justin Willis, who does fascial stretching, not right after injury, he's too sore. But I found that combination to just heal the body really quick. So I was back snowboarding like 2 months. It wasn't fully healed. And I didn't go back until I could do this. At first it was like and then, it's kind of like, oh, but then once I could do that, I went back snowboarding. But I was careful, I wasn't hitting big jumps. So anyhow, I found the best to heal the body. Crazy diet. Part of the diet I do this because of the pollution in the air. And we're bombarded by pollution. So vegetable juice, raw fat, I find helps to get toxins out of the body. Okay. Open up for questions real quick.
I have a question. So, a lot of guys, when they started lifting weights, that's the day they became forever small.
What's that again?
Guys that lift weights, you always want to be bigger and bigger and bigger.
Oh, yeah.
So, what's the best way to gain weight in a healthy way? Conventional thinking is a lot of protein powder, a lot of creatine, a lot of this, a lot of that, all these fancy labels. What's the best healthy way to just put on mass?
I would probably eat some. I wouldn't go super low carb. You need some carb, maybe 25%, but I would eat a ton of fat. And I'd eat a lot of raw eggs. And if you could get whole milk, raw milk, I'd drink like a half gallon a day and add some extra cream to it. But that's hard to get. I get my milk from Johnson Acres. But no, if you wanted to put weight on, the raw milk is definitely helpful. Yeah, that's what I would do. And then, of course, lifting weights is gonna help build testosterone. Oh, I didn't touch on hormones. That could be another time I'll come and talk.
Quick, your thoughts on MCT oil as opposed to coconut oil?
Good for energy, it's going to be higher than coconut oil because they're just extracting the MTCs. I know a lot of people doing bulletproof coffee and added the MTC and butter. You are going to miss some of the acids because MTC oil is lower in fat than regular coconut oil. So you're probably not going to have lauric acid and mystric acid in there. If you do, it's going to be a smaller amount. So you're going to miss some of the antimicrobial, antibacterial, antifungal acids that coconut oil has to help the gut and digestion. So if you're doing MCT oil, that's fine, but I would also still have coconut oil and do a tablespoon at least a day of regular coconut oil. So you're getting those acids.
Going back to the day you said you had 22 eggs.
Uh-huh.
You mentioned that was an experiment. What was the purpose behind it? Or was that just what you had to eat that day?
Yeah, I was running around doing a lot of errands at work, and I just wanted to see. And it was mainly busy, so I just had a dozen eggs in my car. In my little cup, I'd crack them into. Yeah, before you know it, I had 22. And yeah, I felt fine. They digest so easily. And like I said, I had 8 this morning, and I found them.
Sorry, did you have a meat meal that day too, or was it just?
I think I had a small meat meal.
Okay.
Yesterday I had 2 meat meals. I had beef and then chicken another time. I only had 6 raw eggs. But I'm getting 4 ounces of meat has 22 grams of protein. But usually my grass-fed beef, I'll try to get 85-15, so I get all that healthy fat in it.
As far as issues about salmonella, there's a fear of that. From my understanding, it's more of if you've got a dirty egg, so if you've got an egg with chicken poop on it and not washed well, you crack that, you potentially get some fecal matter into that. That's from my understanding where the potential salmonella danger comes in. Is that true?
Yeah,
Okay.
for most part.
So if your egg is clean and it's pasture raised,
I was gonna say, so the one difference with that is like if you ever go to like England or anywhere overseas, like the eggs are just kind of sitting out, they're not frozen.
That's what I do.
Being refrigerated.
I don't refrigerate them.
Well, one of the big reasons when you buy eggs from a store and they're flash pasteurized and they're basically, they wash all the protective coating around the egg.
Yeah.
So it makes that eggshell permeable, and that's why like if you're getting them from a farm or something like that and they haven't gone through that pasteurization process, then yeah, they'll be protected as long as you kind of wash the shell. But if you're getting like the 99-cent, off the shelf like flash pasteurized or whatever, you still have the risk just because it's the egg shells permeable.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. But yeah, I don't refrigerate my eggs. I buy them from the refrigerator and I put them on top of my fridge. Eggs been around longer than the refrigerator. And then I down them. I don't like them cold. You can't taste them, and I don't like cold things. So I put them on unless you're in the tropics, the egg could still last for a week or so. So I don't refrigerate them. And if you're gonna cook them, refrigerate them. But if you can do them raw, it's going to taste better when they're room temperature.
What about difference between like raw milk and just like organic whole milk that you buy from the store in terms of easier to digest? I'm guessing like the raw milk or
Yeah,
people with lactase,
the
down-regulation, whatever.
biggest issue with pasteurized milk, even if it's grass-fed organic, you kill off the enzymes. And one of them's lactase. So you can't digest the milk sugar. So a lot of people that are allergic to milk can do raw milk. Some just can't, but a lot of them can. People that have delicate digestive systems, I wouldn't do raw milk. I would ferment it to yogurt or kefir or something so the bacteria counts. Plus it turns into lactic acid, the milk sugar. That's why it's sour. And milk's been around for thousands, 10,000s of years. I know paleo, the caveman didn't have milk, but I think there's a place for it to a certain degree, especially if you can get raw milk or raw butter. As far as supplements, a protein powder is fine if you're not eating enough protein during the day. The pre-workout powders and post, I think they're a waste. I just don't see any point in doing it. I mean, if you want to lie, you could throw a raw egg in your water, a little raw honey, some lime juice, lemon juice. That's going to take care of a lot of electrolytes and a little bit of protein and fat. So the only thing I would recommend maybe is an adaptogen herbs. There's a product I carry called adaptogen. It's just rhodiola, maca root, ginseng. Just keeps your cortisol in balance. Because athletes, sometimes cortisol will get too high. But then if you don't correct yourself, then the cortisol can dip low, and then you'll have adrenal fatigue, and you'll have different high cortisol, low cortisol. They share certain common symptoms. One is you can't sleep, because with cortisol is high, you're revved up all the time. But when your cortisol is low, it just peaks at the wrong time. You're tired all day, then all of a sudden you got energy at 10 o'clock. You're like, damn, I can't go to sleep. And it'll cause immune problems. The only way to really test your adrenal glands, you got to spit in a vial 4 different times and send it out to a lab. But I gave a talk on adrenal fatigue too. But athletes, the ones, like I said earlier today about that but a bodybuilder lady, you can get adrenal fatigue eventually if you're not eating enough fat and you're just taxing yourself. You got to take breaks. And I think a lot of people in Denver and Boulder push themselves too much. You got to listen. And if you're an ultra marathoner, don't run a marathon every day. You're just going to burn yourself out. But if you do eat extremely healthy, like I'm talking about, you can push it further, recover quicker, and do more.
How about gut health in terms of, so let's say we have a lot of new members that come in and they're coming from a completely conventional diet.
Oh, yeah.
No diet whatsoever in terms of just like I eat whatever. Like in terms of restoring the gut and kind of putting it back into like a homeostasis, what would you recommend?
First, I'd look into the stomach acid, just ask them a bunch of questions, see if their stomach acid is strong enough. I'd start doing digestive bitters, just stimulate the gastric juices before you eat a meal, just to get that going. Maybe some lemon juice or apple cider vinegar. If you're having a lot of bloating and gas, I would recommend HCl with pepsin pills temporarily. You got to start small, just one a day, one at each meal, until you feel a slight burn. That's the number one thing, correct that low stomach acid. Then I would probably do digestive enzymes, because if your stomach acid's off, the enzymes are going to be off. And then good probiotics. Those are 4 things I would buy. Bitters, HCl, maybe. And then probiotics and digestive enzymes. And then some fermented foods, probably good, sauerkraut. I would actually do, they might be open to the raw egg, but that raw egg smoothie would be good. No dairy, stay away from grain, go to more of a paleo diet. And the main thing with red meat, just don't overcook it. Chicken you can cook well done, but red meat, if you overcook it, can be harder to digest. But I know a lot of people like rare red meat anyway, so it's like going to raw or just rare is easier. But your digestion is huge, just the biggest epidemic in society, just stress and just eating processed foods constantly. And so a lot of people, that's what I would address for digestive health. Kombucha tea can be pretty good if you like that vinegary taste. I like it. You can make it at home.
I've just gotten into kombucha on like my 3rd or 4th batch.
Oh, you're making it? Nice.
Too much. You can have too much of anything.
Yeah.
And everybody's going to be a little bit different if they're making their own batches. One a day?
Yeah.
Every other day?
One a day's fine. What are you talking about? Like one a day? What's
like one mason jar.
A 32-ounce mason jar?
No, like
That's the 8 ounce. Yeah, kombucha's fun. I've made it before. I've got out of the habit of making it, but it's got good enzymes, bacteria. So some people don't do well on it. If you have a lot of yeast infection stuff, I might stay away from it for a while. Yeah, 16 ounce. Yeah, one a day is fine.
Okay.
That's usually that's what you buy at the store. Yeah. And then, as you know, with kombucha, obviously you're making it. It shouldn't taste like tea and it shouldn't taste like sugar. If you ferment it too long, it turns more into vinegar.
Pineapple in there too.
Oh, nice. So, any other questions?
I guess one more. Just, are you conscious or calculated about a red meat versus chicken balance, or is it kind of whatever you're feeling that day?
Yeah, pretty much whatever I'm feeling. Yeah. I probably eat more red meat. Probably 70% of my meat's red, and then 30 chicken. Occasionally, I do like scallops and shrimp. I grew up near Virginia Beach, so a lot of times I'll ceviche those. Seafood's more expensive, so I don't buy it as much as I wish. And I like tuna. Tuna's my favorite. I've been tuna fishing before, back east. Oh my, talk about a fight. They're the densest fish. I mean, they're just muscles, like, wah! But they are tasting good. So, well, thank you so much for listening to me. Hope you learned some few things. I'm always trying to be controversial. But again, it depends on, you got to almost just go intuitive to find that proper balance of fat, how much your body needs. And it's a transition. If you're not eating much fat, gradually increase it. If you overdo it, your liver will just send a signal and you'll get nauseous. But it's good, it's a safety valve. Carbohydrates, you just there's no safety valve, really. You just keep eating them as far as empty carbohydrates. So I'll pass out my card if you want to.
Thank you. Thanks.
I'm on Facebook, Twitter, all that stuff. So.